Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Coaching Corner with me, Jamila, aka the IEP Coach. For those of you who are new to the IEP Coach, we are an ed consulting company and we specialize in providing professional development and coaching to our special education teams, teachers, and paraprofessionals centered around special education so that way they can thrive and not just survive in their roles. All right, that's just a little bit about us. Oh, and also, as you are coming into the live, please let us know where you are tuning in from. You know, Tuesday is our favorite day of the week because we get to come on and talk with you guys about just all things special education, okay? So definitely, please drop where you are tuning in from in the comments and share this out always. You know the drill. Always share this live out with as many people as possible. And as I'm telling you to share it out, I am sharing it out as well. I hope everyone is having a lovely Tuesday evening. It's not as cold as it was last week, so that's good. It was freezing cold last week. But yes, we are happy to be here with you all tonight. And before we get started, I want to just share some things that we have coming up for the IEP Coach, and some things that we have going on right now. So, our IEP in a Nutshell workshop. This is becoming our most popular workshop. We're doing it again. We won't do it in December because of the holiday time and there's so much going on. So we're gonna do it the first week of January. So the IEP coach and the IEP coach. The IEP in a Nutshell workshop will take place on January the 7th, 2025. Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the comments for you guys. Those of you who are tuning in on Instagram, you can click the link in our bio. But that is the link to go ahead and register. And this is for teachers, parents, administrators, anyone new to special education, and you just want a better understanding of the IEP. We go from beginning to end. By the end of that workshop, you will know the important main parts of the IEP and how to manage, the IEP. And we also have our, sorry. Oops. Administrators, anyone new to special education. Sorry about that. We also have our December special going on for our schools because it's the end of the year. I don't know if you started planning for the upcoming 2025, hey, you need to schedule some refresher professional developments. You have lost some staff members and you've also gained some staff members. Some staff members came on to the team, joined the team later in the year. They missed all that PD you did in the beginning in the summertime. So this is the perfect time to schedule some PD refreshers. And with our December special, you purchase one PD, you get an additional PD, bonus PD. So you're getting two PDs for the price of one. Okay, so I'm going to put that link in the chat for you as well. And please take advantage of it. We only have a few spots available, so take advantage and act on it fast. These spots will fill up quickly. Okay? Quickly. All right. So tonight, this evening, what we will be discussing is, and I'm discussing this because we currently have a coaching client and she had a question about amendments, and I thought this was a perfect topic to discuss for tonight's coaching corner. And a lot of people, I want to say, when it comes to making an amendment, you have some teachers who are nervous about making the amendments and don't know how do you go about it. And then parents, parents may want to make changes to an IEP or something like that, and they don't know if they can. They don't know if they have to schedule a whole new meeting or what it is that they have to do in order to create an amendment. Okay? So when you create an amendment to an IEP, you're making a change to that IEP. However, no changes can be made to the IEP without the parent's consent. Okay, so any change that is made to an IEP, you have to get the parents' consent. No matter what, you got to get the parents' consent. Because if you look at the IEP on the very front pages, there is a section, there's space for you to add amendment information, meaning who did you speak to make this amendment? What sections of the IEP are you amending? What date are you making these amendments? Which IEP team members was involved in making this amendment? You have to document it. And then when you make the changes, you have to document it in the IEP. So you got to document it in section 2. So I just want to go through that just so that way everyone just has a better understanding of it. So again, when you make an amendment to an IEP, you're making a change to the IEP. And you have to have parent consent to make any changes to the IEP. Okay? That is the first thing. Always got to have parents' consent. All right? Thank you so much, Robert. Thank you so much. So you definitely have to have parents' consent. Okay? Now, step 2. This is how you decide. This is how you're going to figure out if you have to do a whole new IEP or if you can go ahead and make the change in the IEP. If the change that you are trying to make to the IEP changes the student's special education time, you have to do an entire new IEP. Okay? If the change you are making to a student's IEP will change their special education time, if it's going to increase it or if it's going to decrease it, you have to do an entire new IEP with a whole new no-rep. Okay? All right. So parents, if the school, let's say the case manager calls you and they say, oh, Mr. Johnson or Miss Johnson, we want to make this change to Anthony's IEP or Mark's IEP, and we want to, let's just say they say, oh, we want to give him more support in reading. If adding that additional support increases the time, special education time, or if it decreases the special education time, you have to do a whole new IEP meeting with a new no-rep. Okay? And the no-rep, that's what makes the IEP the legal binding document, because that's where you sign it, parents, saying that you agree. Okay? All right. That's 2. Now, if I want to make a change, like, hey, I want to add some testing accommodations, because as I'm going throughout the year with the student, I'm noticing they need this particular accommodation to assist them when they're taking assessments. I'll call the parent. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I just want to make I want to make an amendment to Ashley's IEP. I'm noticing that she needs to be in a small group when she's taking her assessments, and I want to add that to her IEP. I don't see it in there, but I want to add it to it. Is it okay if I make this amendment? Okay. Now, me making that change, giving her that testing accommodation, it does nothing to her special education time. So if the parent tells me, yes, go ahead, Ms. Beshier, I then will document it on the front of the IEP, who I spoke with, which IEP team member I spoke with to make this amendment, make this change, the date, what section of the IEP is being amended. Then I will go make that change to that section of the IEP. Then I'm going to document in section 2, the present ed levels, that an amendment was made to add this testing accommodation. Then I'm going to print out the parts that were amended. I'm going to send it home to the parent because they have to initial. Now, depending on where you are, your district may have you do it differently, but we had to do, the parent had to initial the amendments that were made, so that way they knew, hey, I was aware of this change. They signed, they put their initials, and then those changes are finalized for the IEP. Okay? So when an amendment is being made, we have to see, hey, is this change gonna affect the student's special education time? Will it change it? Will it increase or decrease their special education time? And if it does, we have to do an entire new IEP with a new no-rep, because the time is changing. They may go from supplemental to full-time, or they could go from supplemental to itinerant, or they can go from itinerant time to supplemental time. So their special education time is changing. That has to be documented on the no-rep, because that no-rep That's what makes that IEP that binding agreement, because it's signed. It has the students' placement. It has their what are they getting, what type of support they're getting, what level of programming that they are getting. Okay. Now, also when you're making amendments, you're not just making changes just to make changes. You need to have data to back up why you're making the change to the IEP. So for example, I use testing accommodations. My data as a teacher is my observational anecdotal notes that I can take because I'm seeing how this student benefits when they are in a small group and when they are not in a small group. That is my data to back up why I want to make the change. And that's data that I can share with the parent. So that way, if they say, well, why do you want to make this change? I can then say, oh, Miss White, Mr. White, here is my data. And I can give them my anecdotal notes that I've taken. Now, if it's something that does change the time, change the special education time, that has to be documented, because you have to show why this student would need an increase in a particular level of a particular service. Let's say if it's speech, OT, or if it's like additional reading support, additional math support, or something like that. You have to have it documented why they need that additional time for that content area. We're not just making changes to an IEP just to be making changes to an IEP. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. So, when you are making an amendment to an IEP, you have to have the parent's consent. If the parent tells you no, you cannot make that amendment, okay? Always have the parent's consent. 2, you have to decide, will this change to the IEP? Will it change the student's special education time or not? If it's not going to affect the special education time, you will document the changes you made to the IEP, who was involved in making those changes, who did you speak to get consent, and the date that you made those changes. You print out those pages, and then you have to add it in section 2, document that you made an amendment to the IEP, print out the pages that have been amended, send home to the parent to get their initials. Okay? If it does change the student's special education time, you have to do an entire new IEP meeting with an entire new IEP with a new no-rep, because they are now moving either itinerant to supplemental, or they can move from supplemental to itinerant, or they could be going from supplemental to full-time. If the time is changing, you have to do a new IEP and no-rep, because it needs to be documented in the no-rep. The no-rep lists the student's program type, placement, and what type of programming that they will receive and how much. Then, parent will sign off on that. Okay? 3, always have data to back up why you are making an amendment to an IEP. We don't just make changes to IEPs just to make them. You always have the data to make a data-driven decision. Okay? The data does not lie. The data can tell you what goals you need to make, what accommodations you need to make for students. Okay? Do we have any questions? Any questions? And they don't have to be about amendments. If you have a question, just a special education question, that is fine. And I'll give you time to type your question. And for those of you who have tuned in late, I am going to share the links again for our upcoming, it's going to be next month, our IEP in a Nutshell workshop. This is becoming our most popular workshop, learning about the main parts of the IEP. And also our December special. Administrators, you definitely want to use this. Directors, SPED supervisors, you definitely want to take advantage of this special. You get 2 PDs for the price of 1. It's the end of the year. Hey, you can schedule, you can pay for the PDs now. Use them in January. Use them in February if you want to. But You got to do it by the 20th, okay? Purchase one PD, you get the second additional PD as a bonus. So you're getting 2 PDs for the price of 1. Pay for it now, utilize it in the new year. Okay? I'm going to drop that link. If you are on Instagram, you can just click the link in our bio. It is there. All right, let me see. Do we got any questions? Okay, thank you. California. Is it now 21 or 22 years that the student can stay into the school? I believe it is 22 because everyone doesn't graduate at 21. I think it's 22. Hold on, let me double check real fast. I feel like it's 22 years old. Hold on one second. Let me double check myself. It is yes, it's 22. It's 22, California. I was right. It is 22. They can stay. Students that have IEPs, they can stay in school until they are 22 years old. Any other questions to continue to receive their special education support, as long as they still need that support? No problem. No problem. Anybody else have a question? Anybody else have a question? Let me check over here. Let's see if we got any questions. All right, I don't see any more questions. However, if a question does pop up for you later, please just click the link. Just DM us, or you can message us on our social media. We are very, very responsive, and we will respond to you. We're very, very, very responsive, and we will respond to you. Okay? So if you have questions that they pop up later, you can message us, DM us. You can also click the link in our bio. You can send us an email too. All right? So please click the link in the comments to register for the IEP in a nutshell. Make sure, hey, you need PD, you need refreshers for your staff, PD refreshers for your staff. Click the link in our comments as well for take advantage of our December special. Remember, you have to book. You have to get on that calendar by December 20th, so that way you can take advantage of the bonus. So you can, as long as you are on our calendar before the 20th, that's fine. So let's say, hey, you call us, we book it, you pay for it. Hey, you're going to use it in January? That's fine. You want to use it in February? That's fine too. Okay, but you have to have the call with us before the 20th. Okay? Please remember to be kind to yourselves, people. Please give yourselves grace. No one is Superman. No one is Superwoman. Remember your capacity. And please, please be safe. And I will see you all next week.